シッドボム。
こっち。
What's going on, Pokemon trainers? Dom from the Otaku Room, and we need to talk about Pokemon Horizons, episode number 36. This episode was our transitional episode back into the new core of Pokemon Horizons. I think this is our, let me think, I think this is our third pause of the season so far. And typically this is what happens. This was the winter break pause of the season, which is totally, in the right. Give the studio enough time to go in, rest, and be with their families and do all that stuff and then come back. With this one here, I think this was a really good transitional episode back into Pokemon Horizons. This was a filler episode of Pokemon Horizons, which is just a-okay. That's completely okay to see, with it being kind of like a filler gap episode of Pokemon Horizons. That's a totally okay thing to have, all of that stuff. Also, before you guys comment, let us know out there. Your boy's on vacation right now, but I still was able to, as the kids were out there playing the snow stuff, was still able to watch Pokemon Horizons, came back, and now kind of giving you my thoughts on it. But episode number 36, really good episode of Pokemon Horizons. This episode answered, or it was at least about to answer, one of the things that has been interesting me the most in the Pokemon world for quite a while, but seemingly was never answered. And that thing is money. And if you notice, more often than not, right, you can assume Team Rocket or the team that Amateo is a part of, they're this dastardly organization who typically steals Pokemon. You assume that they sell Pokemon, they poach Pokemon, they sell Pokemon. They sell Pokemon parts in early days of Pokemon. The Team Rocket, I think it was not Jesse and James, but it was the blue hair and orange hair folks who they did make an appearance in Journeys. But anyways, they had talked about how they would sell Slowpoke tails, and that was really big delicacy, and that was an income driving thing for Team Rocket. So money has always been a thing that I've always wondered, because more often than not in the Pokemon world, it's they're just traveling infinitely. If I think about right before Pokemon Horizons, and I was watching Pokemon Journeys, right, trying to wrap up on Journeys, and I still haven't finished Journeys. But there was a time where Ash and Go, they were oh, we gotta go to Johto, and they would just get on a plane. Or, oh, we gotta go over to Sinnoh, and then they would just get on a plane, and they would go yo, that costs money. They're traveling to another region, another country. They're traveling across the world, and they're just oh, well, how much money does it cost? How much money does it not cost? It's well, we never really kind of got that answer. It's oh, well, maybe they were funded by the Pokemon researchers that they were working for, right? It's okay, well, then how's the researchers funded? I have to assume, is it government funded? And then it's all these questions that you have. Oh, okay, well then Go and Ash are then employees. So anyways, going back to Pokemon Horizons, because I know I'm getting far off topic, is finally Freed said, hey, we're broke, we ain't got no money. We got no money. We need to go out there and get some money. And this episode, although, I was hoping it would kind of answer those questions a little bit more, it went into it as oh, well, we can go and sell pastries, we can offer, Pokemon consultations like Nurse Joy on the streets, we can go and, the different characters were oh, we can go fix items, and they were oh, well, how about Dot goes and creates this, hey, this is where we are, and blah, blah, blah. So that never came to happen, but Freed got a job, and in Freed's job, he was oh, well, I got this dude, and this dude's telling me, oh, well, let me go find this Pokemon, and I'll pay you, go find my partner Pokemon. And it ends up being a Bramblin. And we don't get to see how much Freed got paid, but it was obviously enough for them to come back and continue adventuring, because he shows us the phone at the end of the episode. It's yo, it got gold on gold. So they go and they're like, they meet this dude in like the Wild West or something in the middle of the desert, and he's like, yo, go find my Bramblin. And they find it, and they have to go chase it, and we kind of get to see on how Bramblin exists. Basically, they were, and it's in the Pokedex entry too, but essentially they were pieces of grass that dried up, and as spirits were still roaming the earth, human Pokemon spirits, we don't really know. As humans were roaming, or as spirits were roaming the earth, they hit this grass, and that's how Bramblin exists. Was these lost spirits that ended up taking over this, you know, tumbleweed essentially, and we learn how how they live, and they avoid water, and they're just kind of going with the wind and stuff. So we get to see all that context, which I thought was really, really cool for the show, and cool for us, you know, as Pokemon fans, especially if you like Bramblin. Like, I think Bramblin's a really cool Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet. I have a shiny of that, and they found it. It led them to poachers because it ended up getting poached, and we found this girl who really, really loves cute Pokemon, who was hiring hunters to go and find her cute Pokemon and stuff. And we found out that Captain Pikachu is allergic to the word cute. It's like, yo, if you say, oh, kawaii, you know what I mean? Like, kawaii. If you say that Pikachu is cute, it's like, oh, it just sneezes. It just sneezes. And I thought that was a really cool little thing, too, to find out that, yo, Pikachu does not like to be called cute. So they do all that stuff, and long story short, Bramblin ends up getting evolved into Bramblegast. They beat the poachers, they get the money and all that. So overall, I like the story. It was definitely filler. It's definitely a filler story in Pokemon. But this is, you know, in my personal opinion, and yours might be different, let me know in the comments below. I think this is one of the better fillers in Pokemon Horizons. I think I have yet to be truly disappointed in a filler episode. Some of the filler episodes have taken us into Galar, and we've seen kind of them make curry. It's taken us into a patissiere, and we've been able to see El Creamy. It's taken us a lot of different places these fillers have. So I have zero complaints of the fillers, because I think that they have provided context or nuance to the show. Here we got to see, like, Roy ain't in school at all, but Liko is in school. We get to see her dial into school again, which we've seen her do in the past. And she's still keeping up with her friends. So we got that additional, like, I would equate it to, like, you know how when you're reading like a manga or a light novel, and then you see it being adapted, and you're like, oh, well, they skipped over this, and they skipped over the training, and they skipped over the school stuff, and they skipped over this. I feel like Pokemon Horizons doesn't skip over anything. It's like, yo, let me give you all the context. So in some ways, yeah, it can be boring, and if it was boring for you, I completely understand. The good thing is we're in for, what, 100 episodes or something like that, if not more, kind of similar to Journeys. So the good thing is there's a lot more if what you were looking for, this didn't meet. So I think that's kind of the takeaway there. So let me know what you guys thought about episode 36 in the comments below. I'm gonna go get into the snow over here, yeah, we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace out, my friends.